Thank you so much for the reminder. That's actually very useful. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I need to get a new mic. And actually, what happened was I actually have two of these, and the other one, the top broke off. So I have that one at home. But maybe I need a mic altogether. Alrighty. Natalie, help us out here. What's your answer?
B has a future interest in remainder in life estate.
Perfect. Okay, first off, what does A have here?
A has a present interest in life.
A has a present interest in life estate, correct. What does B have?
B has a future interest in remainder in life estate.
Perfectly stated. She said all three. Future interest in remainder in life estate. Natalie, one more question. Why is it not a remainder in fee simple?
Why is it not the remainder in fee simple?
Why is it not a remainder in fee simple?
Because it's for life.
For life. For life, exactly right. Thank you so much, Natalie. Very good. Everyone see that? All right, now this will be for Marissa in about 30 seconds. What does O have? Question 1B. Okay. Another 10 seconds. All right, Marissa, help us out, my friend. What does O? Perfect. A future interest in reversion in fee simple. Marissa, help us out. Why is this a reversion and not a remainder? Perfectly stated. You guys got this, I think. Well, somebody got lucky, two people in a row. But yeah, it always happens. You know, I call the two people that were prepared. But the two of you got it exactly right. Very good. Everyone get those two questions? All right, good. Better than the first class. First class a little bumpy, but so far so good. All right. I hate comparing, but it's twice in a day, so it happens. Sometimes they're better than you are, so don't think it's consistent. Just for whatever reason, it happened to be you guys are a little stronger. I think it's also just who are the two people I call on. Completely random, right? It's completely random who I call on. Okay, so Victoria, you'll be up next. Okay. All right, take a look at number 2, which is a multiple choice. Okay. Ignore this. I'm sorry. Question 2. Blackacre from Ode for life, comma, he and his heirs, period. That's number 1. Transaction number 2. A sells Blackacre to C. We tell you that A dies. Who owns Blackacre? Who owns Blackacre? Another 10 seconds into Victoria. All right, Victoria, what's your answer, my friend? Why did you put A?
Because B gets the property when A dies. A only had a life estate.
What did A give to C?
His present
In?
and the life estate.
Keep going. What interest did A give to C? Be very precise here. He gave him a presidential life estate, but you're not done yet.
Oh, you're B up to B.
Thank you. So A gave C a life estate per attribute. A is the measuring life. And as soon as A dies, that life estate terminates. And it goes to B, right? And so Victoria, fishing up, what interest does B have here?
B has a future interest in remainder
Perfect.
in life.
Yeah, you got it. I was like, oh no, you got it. Perfect. Good job. B has remainder and fee simple. So after the life estate comes remainder, and it's remainder for B and his heirs. Let's see. Who put C? Come on. 2 of you?
It was an accident.
Okay. Yeah, but who else? 2 accidents? Come on, guys. You know, Fine. Well, fine. But 9 of you got this one wrong, which is, again, a question we had last week. So if you got it wrong, come talk to me. I'm not going to go dig through the records. It's kind of actually a pain in the neck to figure out who did what. The iClicker does not make it easy to figure out who answered what question. I have to actually go through all 8 of you and figure which you put. But if you put B, probably come talk to me. All right, but the answer here is A. That's correct. All right. Everyone with me. Questions on those two? Straightforward. Again, if this is not clicking with you, you're going to hate me next week because it gets worse. I'll give you a preview. There are many kinds of remainders, not just one. Yeah.
I know, like in the past, when we've had 2 statements, we've done the double dash in between. Is there a specific way we're going to have to write those on the exam?
Well, I mean, the way I usually ask it at different points in time, I'll say, what were the present interests on January 1st? What were the present interests on, March 1st, right? So I usually give dates to make it clear there's a sequence of events. And this sounds stupid, but answer the question. If I ask you where the present interest on a certain date, give me the interest at that date. Don't look beyond it.
Okay.
Unless I tell you to.
But there's not the emphasis on the formatting of the Zoom question.
Well, I only do the dashes because there's no dates.
Okay.
That's why I do dates, so it makes it easier. It's not guesswork. Or like, what are the future interests after the death day, right? You'll tell me what the interests are at that point. Double dash. All right, questions, my friends. Alrighty. So let's go back to the readings for last class. And we introduced some terminology, right? One term we introduced was air, H-E-I-R. Not like the stuff you breathe, air. Sounds exactly the same, doesn't it? Right? No living person has an heir. Make that point very clear. I can trip you up so quickly in that one. If I ask, do any of you have heirs? The answer is no. Why? Heirs are determined at death. Prior to death, I can designate who my heirs are. I can make it my family. I can write a will. I can rip the will up, make a new will, or I can have no will at all. Heirs only exist at death. So whenever you see, to A and his heirs, we don't know who those heirs are until later. We have to sort of sit and wait to see what happens. In fact, in one of the cases for today, that's a problem because we're waiting for this woman to have kids. So she's 80 and she doesn't have kids, but she might have kids. Heirs can come around at any point. All right. The next concept, which is obvious, is spouse. Right? Spouse is married. That's not blood related. It's not supposed to be. It can be. I shouldn't say not supposed to be. It's not usually blood related, but it can be. You can be both you can be both a spouse and collateral. It's possible, right? But a spouse is a person related through marriage, obvious. The next terminology is issue, I-S-S-U-E, issue. Issue refers to descendants, right? Going down the bloodline, kids, grandkids, etc. The other terminology is ancestors, which seems obvious. That's going up the bloodline. Your parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, etc. You notice in the family tree, I'm going only down or up, right? What if I want to go left or right? Sisters, cousins, nieces, nephews, aunts, uncles. That's called collateral. Collateral. Okay. There's a priority here, right? If you die without a will, it's called dying intestate. I-N-T-E-S-T-A-T-E. Intestate. All right, I can take a hard time with that word. Intestate. Intestate means you die without a will. And what happens if you die without a will? The state has a statute that explains how to divide your property. It's called the intestacy statute. It might be called different things, but generally called intestacy statute. And the intestacy statute creates a hierarchy of how to divide the property of a dead person without a will. All right. So what's a hierarchy? First come spouses. Spouses always come first. For one reason or another, you choose your spouse. So you usually do. You don't always choose your family, but you choose your spouse usually. Right? Spouses come first. Then come the issue, the children or the grandchildren. Because in theory, you made your children, you made your grandchildren. You have an interest in them, which you're supposed to. After the children come the ancestors, parents, grandparents, etc. And after the ancestors come the collateral. Brother, sister, cousin, aunt, uncle, etc. Don't bog down in the specifics. The family relationships are actually very complex. And that's a subject for wills and trusts. One second, Caitlin. But what you should know is with a hierarchy, spouses always come first. It's almost impossible to write your spouse out of your will. You can do it, but it's very hard. It's done, trust me. Or you can kill your spouse, right? That's the other way. Don't joke, it happens, right? And it's hard to write your children out of your will, but you can do it. It's a little bit easier. Caitlin, and then Andres. Spouse, number 1. Issue, number 2. Ancestor, number 3. Collateral, number 4. Good? Yeah, Andres?
I just want to confirm on issue, children and grandchildren, but then within that.
We're going to get to that later.
Oh,
Children come first. That's right. We'll do that exact question in 3 minutes. Bree.
I just want to be on our television conversation, but out of curiosity, if you're in the middle of a separation or a not finalized divorce, is the spouse still your spouse?
You're not divorced till you're divorced.
Okay, so yeah.
Until there's a final decree of divorce entered by a court, you're still married. And this comes up not just in death, but also polygamy, right? Because let's say you want to get remarried and your divorce is not quite final yet, and you get remarried, it can be polygamy. Or say it differently, what if you thought it was final, but it wasn't? They're good faith defenses to those sorts of things, but it ain't over till it's over, as they say, right? Divorce is over when it's over. Yeah, it takes a while. Yeah, you'll take domestic law later, and getting that final decree of divorce entered by the court is basically that's what it is. Separate is not a thing for probate law. That's not an option. I mean, you can imagine a couple is divorcing because they have a lot of acrimony, and during the process, one of those partners dies, and the other spouse inherits everything. Yeah. Or the spouse murdered the other one. I mean, it happens. Okay, questions? All right, so now let me give you some math. Law students hate math. You don't like numbers. You haven't got to med school otherwise, but you need to learn some math for this topic. I'm sorry. It's not hard. You don't need a calculator, but you need to just know some numbers. So first off, if a couple is married and they have no children, the wife takes everything. Right. Again, this is all intestate, right? If you have a will, follow the will. Everything I'm about to say is intestate with no will. So if you're intestate, you have no will, married with no kids, wife or husband takes all. The spouse takes everything. All right. The presumption is you would have wanted your spouse to get everything. And if you don't like that presumption, write a will. If there's one child from the marriage, the spouse takes half and the child takes the other half. Or if there's one child from the marriage, the spouse takes half and the child takes half. Everyone with me? If there are 2 children, if there are 2 or more children, the wife takes a third. The wife takes a third, or the surviving spouse takes a third, and the other children split it. That is, there's 1/3 for the surviving spouse, and the other kids split the other 2/3. And they divide it up, however many kids. If there's 10 kids, well, they get a small share. If there's 2 kids, they get a bigger share. Yes, Maya.
So it's automatically a third. It would be split evenly if there are 2 or more kids. It's automatically
Right. So let's just say there are 2 kids. It will be a third for the surviving spouse, a third for kid number 1, and a third for kid number 2. If there are 3 kids, then the 3 of them split 2/3, which gets to be 2/6, 2/6, and 2/6. If there's 4 of them, I don't want to do fractions, but it gets more complicated. But you divide evenly. 1 second, Tony. The phrase that I want to give you is actually called persterpes. You might see this in the reading and elsewhere. Persterpes. Persterpes means according to the stripe or the branch. You divide it up evenly among each child. No child is better than the other. I'll scroll. No child is better than the other child. Every child takes evenly from the inheritance. I'll give you firstborn, secondborn, whatever, you take evenly. Tony?
How does that work with liabilities or debt in this case?
What do you mean? I think I know what you mean, but just fill it out.
I mean, if you die intestate without a will, say if you don't have assets, you've got liabilities and debt, is it distributed in the same, like,
Well, if you die with no assets, what are you distributing?
well, what if you have debt obligations or, I mean.
Right. So let me answer the question two different ways. If you die with debt, creditors come first. Before your spouse or your children take anything, the creditors come first. We'll talk later this semester about creditors. You'll take a class of secure transactions, right? But generally, if you have a debt, the bank always comes first before they inherit anything, right? The probate process is designed as the are there outstanding creditors. Tony's question: what happens if you have debt and you die with no assets, right? Well, often when you sign a loan, there's a cosigner, isn't there? Go up to the current cosigner. This is perhaps morbid but true. A lot of you have student loans, right? Did your parents co-sign your student loans? No.
No.
Yeah. Well, some no cosigns at all. They allow those?
Yeah.
You have good credit, you have.
When I was 18, that wasn't even an option. Maybe that's new. All right. Well, I'll tell you. In the past, you actually have people with student loans pass away and they go up to the parents. There was one case, I think it's from Rutgers, I remember years ago, where a college student died at a very young age. It was tragic circumstances. And they went after the parents for the one semester student loans. Look, you co-sign a loan, that you co-sign that debt. That's your name. So think carefully before you co-sign a debt. No, really don't co-sign anymore. Who has good credit when they're 18? I don't even know. Kevin, you have good credit when you're 18?
Yeah.
Good for you. I didn't. I had none. 15. Good. I didn't get a credit card till my freshman year in college. Wow, man, behind the curve. Yeah, I'm on.
Is the per surface?
Yeah, shh. Listen to him, please.
I was wondering if the per surface applies to half brothers, sisters. Stuff like that.
Okay, so that's complicated, right? If you're a stepbrother or stepsister, and the person who died is not your biological parent, you get nothing. But if you're adopted, right? When you adopt a child, it's basically as if you're blood. It's not exactly, but you basically treat it as if you're blood. So adoption is a way to sort of get around your question. But let's just say, there's two people, they each have kids from prior marriage, and they get married to each other. The kids by marriage are not considered heirs by blood, right? They're not issue unless they're formally adopted. Make sense? Yes, Alyssa.
Can you redefine first surface?
It's a Latin phrase, which you're not going to like, but it means according to the branches, according to the stripes, each kid takes evenly. This was Samaya's question a few minutes ago. But if there are three kids, each have the same share. You don't like give more to the firstborn or whatever. They each take evenly. So a hand somewhere in the back. Yes.
So if you have no heirs, no other family, and household is no well, but it's just your property, right?
What did I say? Does anyone have no heirs? Does that ever happen?
Yes, I guess, in what situation where the property would go back to the government?
Never. I mean, in theory, if you doubt that heirs, but everyone has heirs. I know soon to have just this desire for a person to die with heirs because it's easier. You don't have to figure anything out. It's just simple. It goes to the government. That almost never happens. Very, very rare. Again, if your answer in your exam is Eshid, it goes back to the government, you're probably wrong. Just think carefully. That's not what I'm looking for because it's such an easy answer. Oh, wow, there are no heirs. I don't have to do anything. Just give it to the government. No, I want you to divide it up. You got to do some division. Make sense? Yeah.
Why is it so hard to get your spouse on the will?
We'll do family law later this semester. The short answer is you presume that when you get married, it's forever unless you get divorced. And you shouldn't be able to be with someone, build a life together, develop your assets together, and then cut them out at the last minute. You all agree?
Yeah, but I know some people that are like split, so they're not officially divorced.
That's Bree's question a minute ago. You ain't divorced till you're divorced. Separated is divorced. Separated is not divorced. You're not divorced till you're divorced. Yeah, split is not a thing. I mean, maybe for Facebook, right? It's complicated, but that doesn't work for like, that doesn't work for real life. You can't just, text them. All right, we're divorced. And that's no, that's not it.
There's first or bees, if that's how you say it. Does that apply to stepchildren as well?
Well, this was on this question a minute ago. Stepchildren, unless they're adopted, are not issue. Right? Stepchildren are not by blood, unless they're formally adopted. So they're nothing. They're not. I should have mean. They're not issue. That was mean. I'm sorry for any stepchildren there. You're everything. You're lovely, but they're not issue. That's the answer to your question. That was mean. I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. Hey, you stepchild?
Oh, no.
No, I'm sorry.
I have a stepbrother.
Okay, well, he's everything. So. He's awesome. Yeah, Gabe.
In the case that, you have the third and the two-third split between the spouse and the children, is that put into a trust if they're minors, or is the spouse trusted with that?
Right. So if there are minor children, I mean, we'll get there later this semester. Minor children usually don't actually have control over money because they're minors and they're not competent. So invariably, the surviving spouse is their guardian, but not necessarily, right? You give a situation where the surviving spouse is, estranged from the family and someone else, and aunt or uncle is the guardian. So you basically have who the guardian is, manage it for the benefit of the child. Right. Don't presume that the surviving spouse is actually the child's guardian. You can't presume that. Right. Let's say the person runs away, abandons the family, et cetera, is abusive. It's not always the case the surviving spouse is actually on the same page as the child. In this case, for example, the first case, the guy left it to his grandkids. He hated the children. He hated the daughter, but he gave it to the grandkids. He didn't even know. Yeah, Krista.
So why is it that, because I remember reading the book, they said that like when the spouse dies and only one child, they split it evenly because it's like understood that that child would get like basically the spouse that died, their like share, their half. Why is it that like when there are multiple children, you do 1/3 and you divide the rest among more?
So the kids get more of a share. Yeah, I mean the bigger the family, they don't want the kids to have to split. It's easier to split 2/3 than split 1/2, right? So let's just say it's $1 million, and there's $500,000 versus $666,000. It's more for the kids to split up. The kids don't get, less alone. It's not a good answer, but it's a bigger pie for the kids to share. All right, one second. Everybody with me? All righty, let's try a question. See if you're with me. This is a multi-part question. It's going to take us a few minutes. I'm looking for a number, not a fraction, not a percentage, a dollar amount. A lot of people in the first class screwed that up, so I'm making that very clear. We're looking for a dollar amount. Whole numbers, please. All right, so here's the question. This will be for, Molly in about a minute. Okay, so Oscar has 2 children, Alice and Ben. So you notice O, right, A and B, makes life easier. Alice and Ben. Then we see that Alice is a son in Adam. All right, so Adam is a grandson to Oscar, just so we're clear. Ben is married to Wendy. Wendy, W, wife, there you go. Ben and Wendy have 3 children, all B. Betty, Bill, Barbara. Ben dies with a will and leaves all of his property to his wife, Wendy. Next, Oscar dies without a will. At the time of his death, Oscar has exactly $600. Okay. So my question is, for Molly, and everyone else, put your answers in, please. Only 10 people put their answers in. How much? Not yet. How much does Ben inherit? Guys, stop talking. Do it yourselves. I hear people whispering. Do it yourselves. All right. All right, another 10 seconds. All righty, Molly. Let's see. 5, 4, 3, 2. Well, if you didn't get your answer, you're taking too long. Molly, what's your answer here? $0. Why do you say $0? He's dead. That's correct. The answer here is 0. Whoa. Half of you got this one wrong. Oh boy. Okay. Well, so we started off better than the other class, but now the other class got that one right more. Dead men can inherit property. When you're dead, you're dead. I know it sounds morbid, but it's true. A dead person cannot inherit property. This wasn't a trick question either, right? When you're dead, you can't inherit property. It says right there, Ben died. I can't do anything more than that. He's dead. All right. Think about that if you put 300. All right. Try question number 2. Sorry, question B. Oh, number B. What am I thinking? It's ridiculous. You can't have number B, number sign. Oh, Josh. Okay. Well, this will be for Samantha about 30 seconds. How much does the wife, Wendy, inherit? How much does the wife, Wendy, inherit? Another 15 seconds. Okay. All right. Samantha, what's your answer here? I'm asking for $1. I'm not asking for possibilities. What's your answer? You can't see my face reaction. I am a terrible poker face. This thing's awesome. You can't see my reactions. What's your answer? Pick one. Why do you say 0? Why? I'm asking you a question. Let's see if people flip. See, I'm a terrible bluffer. This mask actually is good for something. All right, so 80% of you put 0. Some of you put $100. Some put 300. All right. So Samantha, let's talk this through for a minute, okay? Is Wendy related to Oscar? Is she issue? Is she an issue to Oscar? Is she collateral? She's not blood related at all. Don't assume facts, not evidence, right? There's nothing saying she's related to Oscar. In what ground could she possibly inherit property from Oscar?
The only thing I was thinking was if Oscar's money went to Ben's estate.
But Ben's dead, right? So look over here at the sequencing of the bullets, right? This bullet says Ben dodged the will and gives all his property to his wife. That happens. At that point, is there anything left in Ben's estate? It's emptied out. At that point, does Ben have any property from Oscar? At this point, is Ben an heir of Oscar? Why not? No. Right before Ben dies, is he an heir of Oscar? Who has heirs? Thank you. Only dead people have heirs. See why that fact's important. When Ben dies, there's no guarantee he gets a penny from Oscar. For all we know, at Ben's funeral, Oscar's like, yeah, whatever, he's dead. I'm not giving him a thing anymore. Writing out my will. Ripping out my will. Ben has no certainty. When he dies, he gives whatever he has to his wife. But Ben does not acquire property after you're dead. You cannot leave property to a dead person. You can't do it. You can leave property to an unborn person. That's actually possible. But you can't leave property to a dead person. Huh. So the answer to that question is also 0. Better on this one. All right, let's try question number C. You can't do number C. Stop. It's ridiculous. I'm really sorry. This is illiterate of me. I'm because originally I had them numbered, but then I thought it'd be confusing having like 8 questions. I put them letters. Okay. right, so question C. As we for Fidel in about 30 seconds. How much does Alice, the daughter, inherit? Okay. All right, Fidel, we'll stop it here. What's your answer? Okay, why do you say 300? I'm sorry, say it louder, please. Well, first off, why does Alice get 300? We'll get to Ben's kids in a bit. And so for the total $600, there's no spouse pension. How's that money divided up? Between two kids, each would get the same share. We'll get to Ben's share in a bit, but Alice gets $300. Correct. That's who we put here. Whoa. So some of you thought that Alice got everything because Ben was dead. That's not correct. The way inheritance works, even though Ben is dead, Alice's share does not increase. Alice's share is fixed as one of two children. We'll see why in a minute. I can't explain this now without giving it away. I'll come back to it in a minute, I promise. But Alice's share as one of two children is fixed. Right? We'll come back to why that's in a minute. If I don't answer your question, I'll come back to Alexa, I promise. All right, let's try D. How much does Adam inherit? And this will be for Luke. How much does Adam inherit? Adam, again, is the grandson. All right, another 10 seconds. Oops. All right, Luke.
$0.
$0. Why do you say $0?
Well, he's grandkid, he's son of Alice, and she's still alive.
She's still alive. That's an important point. It usually goes down the bloodline. But so long as the child of Oscar's alive, the issue take nothing. Right? Her issue take nothing. It goes right to Alice, $300. I hear muttering. If you want to talk, just raise your hand. Okay. It goes to the daughter. The grandkids get zip. All right, let's see what we got in this one. Let's see the results. Yeah, Marty, just 1 second. We'll click this button. Okay, that's better, 80%. But some of you thought the grandkid gets 100. Where would that come from? If Alice gets 300, where is the 100 for? Where's it coming from? Marty and then Tamika? Okay, you can ask your question.
Okay, so just to clarify with the issue, it only continues to go down that line if that other person's dead.
Correct, which we'll get to in a minute. I'm deliberately slow walking to get to the last one. Yes, Tamika.
Yeah, sorry, I misread it. I thought that Adam was one of Ben's children. That's where the 100 came from.
Ah, okay. Well, I appreciate the honesty. Thank you. I tried deliberately to use letters, so Alice's kid is named Adam, and then Ben, was it Betty, Bill, Bobby, whatever the hell it was. Yeah, all B names. Okay. All right, now we get to the hard one. E. How much does Betty, the oldest daughter of Ben, inherit? This is going to be for who's next? Yeah, I forget your name, Josh. I've only had like a couple Joshes all my years of teaching. Surprised me. It was a very popular name in the 90s. What does Betty inherit? wonder if we can take on these plexiglass things on March 1st. That might be nice. We'll see. All right, Josh, save us. What's our answer?
100.
Okay, so Betty, the oldest daughter, gets 100. Why? Ben's dead, so share goes to his kids. What was Ben's share? 300. And each kid gets $100. Yeah.
What about his wife?
We already did that one. What's Wendy get? She gets nothing.
Oh, right.
That was question B. Five you got wrong. Last one, I'll get to in a second, I promise, right? So this is per stirpes, right? Ben's share is 300. And it goes to his heirs. His heirs are his 3 sons. I guess 2 sons and a daughter, whatever it was, right? Or 2 daughters and a son. I wrote the question, I should know, right? It goes to Betty, Bill, and Barbara. Okay? So Alice gets 300 as a direct issue, the direct heir of the father, Oscar. Ben's share of $300 does not go away. It does not go to Alice. It does not go to his wife. It goes to his kids. Divide up 3 ways, 100, 100, 100. Okay. Now, Alexa, you're patiently waiting. I didn't want to jump you off.
Oh, sorry. I was wondering about where you said just because the person is dead, the other inheritance share does not increase. Does that apply just with issues or with the spouse also?
When you have 2 sons, right, or 2 children, those are going to be your heirs at law, right? The fact that one of them dies means you just go further down the tree. You find their heirs, right? When you die without a will, the court's going to find who are the heirs according to law. And that's what the law says. I don't think I answered your question.
No.
Try it again.
Does if the person has a spouse and the spouse dies, does
The spouse is not issue though. You're saying if Oscar has a spouse here.
yes, where you said that the other inheritance share is fixed.
Well, if the person has a spouse, the spouse usually gets a half or a third. That's set.
So if they're dead,
Who's dead?
their spouse.
If the spouse dies before,
Yeah.
well, that person can't inherit. Right. So in other words, I mean that's kind of what happened here, right? Oscar has no spouse. He probably had one at some point. His spouse died, and he has 2 kids left over. Right? Oh, I think your question. So if your spouse dies, your spouse's family doesn't get anything upon your death. Your spouse will only inherit if your spouse is still alive. If your spouse is dead, that share isn't distributed among your own heirs. All right. So there are a bunch of hands. I don't remember the ordering. Andres, I see Vanessa. Who else? Yeah, Tony.
Yeah, I just see an issue arising when it comes to Ben's kids, because if the money went to Ben for 300, and then one of his kids dies,
They get nothing.
what happens to the extra $100?
I'm sorry. What?
Well, yeah, because it's split between the 3 of them.
No. Is Ben still alive in your question?
No. So Ben has just inherited that $300 from Oscar.
Yeah.
Right? And so I'm wondering if the 3 kids inherit.
So what if one of the children died before Oscar?
Right, because it's fixed at 100 each. Right?
No. It's fixed at 300 for Ben's line.
Okay. Oh,
Ben's share is $300. So what probably happened is the 2 sons will split 150, 150.
okay, perfect. So that's not fixed.
Vanessa?
Okay, I think you kind of answered it. Let's say Betty was dead and Bill had a kid.
I was dreading this question. It happens every year. This is why this is so complex, right? So, thank you, Vanessa. So, Betty's dead. No, who's dead?
Let's say Betty's dead and Bill has a kid.
Right, but if
Wait,
no, Betty's dead, but Betty has a child.
That's the question.
Right. Okay. So, thank you, Vanessa. I was dreading this question. I'll answer it. So, she asked, one of the kids is Betty, right? If Betty dies, but Betty had a child,
yeah.
Betty's share would go to Betty's child.
Okay.
It goes down the line. Now, what if Betty has no children, right? Then Betty's heirs, again, if a person has no children and her parents are dead, it might actually go to her mother, actually. And I know Maddie's waiting,
Okay.
you're waiting, but I also just want to get to Vanessa.
Okay, so it would just be 100, no matter
One
what.
hundred, the share that Betty would have gotten goes to Betty's heir, which would be her child.
Okay.
The harder one though is what if Betty dies with a child who has no heirs? Then it'll probably go to her mother. Is that messed up?
Yeah.
This is why I dread this question. I get it every other year. And so Vanessa, thank you. But it gets really ugly. When you die without a will, right? When you die without a will, it goes up and down, right? If the person has no kids, you go to the parents, if no parents, you go to the cousins, right? It gets ugly. Okay, Maddie, you're waiting for a while, I'm sorry.
That's fine. Okay, so you said that Alex's share is fixed as one of two children. But what about, so Ben is dead here. What about if all of his kids are dead?
Who's all of kids?
Betty, Bill, and Barbara?
So if all three of them die, right? God, you're gonna make me do this. Okay, fine. I'll do it. Look, you're smart students and answer your questions. If Betty, Bill, and Barbara were all dead, their share has to go somewhere. So who are the heirs of Betty, Bill, and Barbara? Wendy. Wendy.
Okay.
Because you go to ancestors. Right, because if there's no issues, you go ancestor going up. So Wendy would be the ancestor of the three kids. That's the mom, and she would inherit the $300. Isn't that messed up?
Yeah, so there's no circumstance in which.
Guys, please, one person at a time, systematic, please.
There's no circumstance in which the children's share would ever change.
Well,
Alex
but it's not the children's share because the children are dead. It's Ben's share. Ben's share was $300. It's got to go somewhere. It can't go to Ben's kids because they're all dead, and their kids had no kids, there are no grandkids. So it's got to go somewhere. So there's no issue going down. You go ancestors going up. And let's say the mom died, Wendy died, then you go to the cousins, and then you go to the nieces and nephews, and it gets really ugly. 1 second, Clark and Pierre. I had a student a couple of years ago. He had a family that had land out in West Texas. It wasn't very valuable. Then they found oil. Then it was valuable. And it had been passed on through intestacy through years and years. There were 80-something heirs they found. And they each had a share in this land. And they had to basically order a sale to chop up and divide the assets because they can't manage properly with 80 owners. I know Clark, Pierre, and I don't know who else. Trey, yeah.
So there's no circumstance where Alice would get all $600?
None. Because the son was an heir, and his bloodline continues. I got it here.
So, in this case, let's say that Ben and Wendy also decide to adopt another kid. So
They split 4 ways.
Yes, 4 ways, even though that adopted kid has nothing to do with us.
Adoption, this is a more modern innovation, but an adopted child is more or less treated the same as a blood child. You don't treat them differently. The old days it wasn't the case, right? Adopted was not, but in modern society, an adopted child is effectively blood. I can't remember who else. Trey, and then, this is Trey, and then not Trey.
So I think Alice could get $600 because if Ben.
Yeah, they're all dead.
If Ben's.
Yeah, they're all dead.
His spouse is in.
Wise guy.
collateral.
If you go to collateral, the Aunt Alice would get it back. Yes, that's correct.
Just wanna make sure.
Was Trey there? No, who else? I can't remember who it was.
Yeah, quick question. So if Oscar were to have remarried before he died, then in that case, Alice would get $200?
What? Say it again.
Had Oscar remarried before he died,
Okay.
that's the only change in the hypothetical. Alice would then get $200?
No, nothing changes. If it had, Oscar remarried, you said? Okay. Had Oscar remarried and he died without a will, then yes, Oscar's wife would have gotten a third, which was 200, and then the other kids would split 200 and 200. Correct. Yes. Sorry, yes. That's why I hate when kids make hypotheticals on the fly. So let's say process them. Yeah, Carissa. Okay, we have 2 more questions, so we'll move on because we can do this all class. We have cases.
My question's more of like, which one would go first? So say in this scenario, everybody on Benzie is dead.
Everyone's dead.
Right, but.
It's like Anastasia, right? They're all just wiped out.
Right, but like Alice is the sister and Adam is the cousin. So like, which one would get it first?
Take wills and trust. I don't want to do it now.
Okay.
It's really complicated. I can rate family members, and I would need It's gonna be a lot more information that gives you actually start doing this. Like what's your cousins? I don't want to do this now. One more question, moving on. I'm not upset, but I just have other material I want to cover, and this is you guys are obviously interested in this question by 45 minutes in, we're on this question. Dylan, last point, then moving on.
So, when an adopted kid gets, is one of the heirs, it has to be formal adoption.
Formal adoption, legit, yeah. Just being a stepbrother, no offense, right? Just being a stepbrother is not adoption. There's nothing wrong with being a stepbrother, but you're not adopted. Adoption is a very full process. You take on legal responsibilities for the person. And you're also understanding that this will be an heir at law for property when you die. So adoption is actually a very important process. I'm done. All right, move on. So we have two. No, you guys are. You'll like, maybe you won't. But wills and trusts is this. This is wills and trusts. How to decide who the various family members are. It's a very complex topic. All right, where am I? All right, let's do the first case. White v. Brown. And by the way, I'm sad. The 10th edition of the casebook just came out. They removed this case. I'm very sad. I like this case. It's my favorite case in the book, actually. Just the characters are so you can relate to these characters, right? You can relate. Everyone has an aunt like Jessie. Jessie lied. Everyone has an aunt like her. You know how this goes. All right, where am I? Darvish, you next. All right, you want to give me the facts in White versus Brown, please?
So, Jessie lied. She wrote a will while she died, and in the will she wrote that she's given it to White, and but for her house to not be sold, and she was a widow and had no kids. And we're basically trying to figure out, and then they try to challenge the will.
Mm-hmm. Oh, my mask up. I hate when that happens. The mask gets wet. The worst. 2 more weeks. All right. Thank you. All right. So, thank you, Darvish. So this, I think this is it's an excellent case, right? So we have a character, right? Miss Jessie lied. She's a widow. She has a bunch of nieces and nephews, but no kids of her own. Jessie has a house. For a quarter century, Jessie lives in this house with Evelyn White, her sister-in-law. It seems they like each other. They get along well. And then you have Sandra White Perry, who's Evelyn's daughter. Okay? So, Nick, Evelyn is the sister-in-law. Is she collateral to Jessie? Why not? Why is the sister-in-law not collateral? Correct. She's not blood, right? Would she stand to inherit under the intestacy statute anything? Correct. One more question for you, Nick. Sandra White Perry, the niece, is she collateral? You seem very uncertain. Is a niece collateral? Yes. The answer is yes. Okay. Niece is blood related, so she's collateral. Evelyn would have been an heir at law. All right. So Miss Jessie writes this will, and there's 4 paragraphs. Okay. So the first paragraph is fairly straightforward. I appoint my niece Sandra White Perry to the executrix of my estate, and executrix to female executor. That's straightforward. So nothing really is number 1, right? Then we get to paragraph 2, Chelsea. It says, I wish Evelyn White to have my home to live in and not to be sold. And she underlines not and sold. So Chelsea, you're just go back to last year. You're not a law student. You're a regular person walking down the street. And you see this second statement. What do you make of it?
That you can just live in the house, not live in it.
Okay. So again, you're just a regular person. You're not a law student. What do you think was Jessie's intent?
I guess they're not very good if they have a way to
Louder, I can't hear you.
So you don't want to give the title away?
Well, stop using words like title. That's not a very helpful phrase, right? What would Jesse have been? Did Jesse want Evelyn to sell the house? No. Did Jesse want Evelyn to be able to leave this to her heirs when Evelyn dies?
I think so.
So she can live in the house, can't sell it, but when she dies, it goes to Evelyn can decide where it goes. So what do you think? Okay, Kira, how do you read this? You're not a law student. You're a regular person walking down the street. Not people. Law students are regular people, but not really, right? How do you read this, Kira?
I agree that she doesn't want to be told, obviously, but it kind of seems like she doesn't want to give Evelyn and it's going to affect the babysitter.
Ah, so you're her lawyer, right? You're Miss Jessie Ly's lawyer, and she comes to you and says, "These are my wishes. What would you advise her to give to Miss Evelyn?" Why do you say a life estate?
So that after Evelyn dies, it can go back to Jesse's heirs.
Correct. Do you think, Kira, that eventually Jessie wanted this to go to her nieces and nephews?
I think so.
And to prevent that from happening, she said, "Don't sell it." I think that's right. Anyone disagree? Maybe someone read it differently? I'm open if you read it differently. Yeah, Kevin, how'd you read it?
I'm getting confused about this stuff. I thought Sandra White Perry was the daughter of Evelyn White.
Yeah.
So if they left Sandra White Perry as being the executor, I thought the purpose was that when Evelyn died, she's just trying to leave everything to her niece.
No, executor means she manages the estate. It's not about what you get.
Okay.
Right. Oh, executor because you're the manager, right? So who do you trust to do the paperwork, handle any sort of legalistic things?
Well, also about number 3, the personal property.
What's personal property? I didn't get to it. What's personal property, Kevin?
Personal property would be the property that belonged to.
No. Okay. Thank you. No. Personal property is the opposite of real property, right? So you ever hear the phrase real estate, right? What's real? Why is it real? Is there fake estate, right? Why is it real estate? Real refers to physical property, that is land, right? Land. That's what the word real property means. That's called real estate. Estate, right? Property, real estate. You ever think about it? It's because it's property you have an interest in. That's what's called real estate. What's something new, right? Personal property is something that's movable, right? Not land. My computer, my brand new MacBook Pro M1 Pro. I just got the one yesterday. They're very nice. I'm very happy with it so far, right? Computers, cameras, your phone, things that are movable, plates, books, things like this. Personal property is sort of a separate category than real property. So what's going on here, Kevin, is you're saying, oh, my clothes, my jewelry, all this other stuff goes to Sandra White Perry, but my house, my real property, goes to Miss Evelyn. Understood? Thank you. Sorry, I should have clarified that point before. But I think Kira's right. Her intent was a life estate. Give a life estate to her sister-in-law. Don't you dare sell it because I want this to go to my kids when you die. Now, did any of her kids actually want this house? No. Did Evelyn actually want the house? No. No one wanted the house. They'll want to sell it and get rich. This always happens, right? Miss Jessie really valued this house that no one actually wanted. And she made it so hard for it to be disposed of. All right, so what happens here, Hunter?
So the court wasn't able to necessarily decide.
Let's go to the trial court first. What does the trial court do here?
So the trial court agreed with the defendant, saying that Ms. Lai unambiguously passed the life estate.
Okay, so the trial court says life estate, and everyone agree with that more or less? Yeah, I agree with it. All right, so then what's the remedy then if there's a life estate? What actually happens?
Ms. Lai's nephews are the collateral with inheritance.
Well, okay, so Hunter, let me ask you a question. When there's a life estate, what usually follows a life estate?
It goes back to the original transfer.
Or
Or
what are the two things we've discussed after life estate? Two options.
Oh, remainder?
So reversion or remainder, right?
Yeah.
Does this conveyance specify who gets the future interest?
I do not believe
It doesn't. Do we know who Jesse wanted to have it after the death of Evelyn? We don't know. So Gabriel, what's the court do? The trial court.
Well, the trial court holds that it's life estate, concerning and they exclude the extrinsic evidence.
And what does he order?
And that it
Does he assign a remainder to someone? What does the trial court do? Orders a sale. Why does he order a sale there, Gabriel? Right. The trial court says, I don't know who has a future interest. I don't really care. Sell it and get it over with. Right? Maybe the future interest is for Evelyn's heirs. Maybe the future interest is for Jesse's heirs. Maybe the future interest is for the nieces and nephews. I don't really know. I don't care. Sell it and get it over with. You're sensing a pattern. In all these cases, judges are, your hand says, lazy, right? They don't want to deal with uncertainty. They say, you know what, just get this over with, sell the damn thing, leave me alone. Stop bothering me. Same in the second case, right? Just sell it. So no matter what Jesse said, do not sell my house. Do not sell my house. What does the judge do? He sells the damn house. Imagine, they're doing the exact opposite of what she wanted. She said loud and clear, underline it, do not sell my house. Isn't that disrespectful? Right, she's dead. You think the executor, Sandra Rapier's like, oh, no, don't sell the house. My auntie didn't want to sell the house. Sell the house. Because when you're dead, no one can check up on you, right? I'm sure Jesse was haunting them for years, just coming back and yelling at them. No, I'm sorry. In property too, we do context where if the house is haunted, would you still buy it? Ooh. For a discount. Don't answer. I once did a poll on that. Never doing that poll ever again. I don't want to know. Yeah, Burger.
I don't know. I thought you were asking, so I was saying yes. I'd buy the house.
Okay. We'll go have Halloween at his house. Okay. Trick or treat. All right. All right. Questions so far. All right. So now, Kevin, it goes to the state Supreme Court. What does the state Supreme Court do? They reverse. Why they reverse?
So they reverse because they look at the language. So it's like split up. They had an issue with the fact that obviously the word specifically said not to sell.
Right.
But then on top of that, the judge wanted to decide whether or not they had given her a life estate or if they had given her the interest with restraint.
Okay, let's do that one first. What's a fee interest or fee simple with restraint? What does that mean?
It's like you have ownership, but you don't have like all the funds.
Wait a minute, hold on, Kevin. I thought we said when you have a fee simple, you have the entire bundle of sticks. There's nothing else. What's going on here?
They're adding a condition.
Can you do that?
I mean, later on they said not really.
All right. So we've only taught you a couple interests, right? You have the fee simple, you have the life estate, right? Those are the only present interest we've learned so far. But when you have a non-lawyer who doesn't understand the language of the law, they can make mistakes. Jesse probably tried to create a third type of present interest. Basically a fee simple with restraint on it. Right? I'm giving you a full bundle of sticks, but you can't sell it. Maybe. Bree, what does the court do with this fee simple with restraint?
They pretty much say that a fee simple with the restraint conflicts with the definition of the fee simple.
Yeah.
So we're just going to ignore that part of it.
We're going to ignore it. It violates public policy, right? The court says it violates public policy. Remember that? Public policy? The contract, maybe? This is in our class as well. The court says that this is such a weird thing, it violates public policy, right? Jocelyn, why is it violating public policy?
Because the public policy was put in place.
What is the public policy, by the way?
Pretty much that there was the possibility to create alienation.
Good. The policy is we want property to be able to be sold. Right? We want property to be alienated. Alienated means to convey, to transfer. We want property that can be sold. And what Ms. Jessie did was saying it cannot be sold. So Jessie's intent was contrary to public policy. So therefore, what do? we take our red pencil, right? And we just cross out paragraph 4. And we just cross out most of paragraph 2. And we'll just rewrite the entire damn thing, right? Let's say, right? Let's just say this, right? That's what she really meant, right? Jesse really meant from Jess to Evelyn or Heirs. That's what she really meant. No, she didn't. Give me a break, right? That's not what happened. But the court rewrote this woman's will because she created an interest they did not want to enforce. Trey, was your hand up?
I was gonna go on
Good.
why the alienation.
Right. Okay. Clark.
I'm super confused about, I know that you were saying they just took out the red pencil and maybe that's just the answer, but why Sandra White Perry was just like, I just don't understand.
This is her mom, by the way, right?
Right, that's like,
Look, family members don't always get along.
right, but I mean, like, why did they just, she said, I leave my personal property to Sandra White Perry, and the court's like, we're giving it all this way. I don't get it.
Well, personal property went to Sandra. There's no problem with that. Personal property, this was Kevin's question. Personal property is like dishes and plates and books and stuff. That's not real. Remember real estate, real property?
Yeah, my thumb's
Okay. Who else? But it's kind of messed up that you have litigation between Sandra and Evelyn, their mom and daughter, right? It's kind of messed up. The family members don't always get along. So the court says it's going to violate public policy to enforce this agreement. We'll enforce it. Right? Vicky, let me ask you a question, please. The court also talks about complete versus partial conveyances, right? What's going on there? What's the problem with giving a life estate to Miss Evelyn? Why is that problematic? Well, what's ambiguous? She has a life estate. What's ambiguous about that? But we know she has a life estate. What's problematic about giving someone a life estate? Where's the problem arise? Or when does the problem arise? No, she has a life estate. What's the problem about it? For her life. What's the problem with giving someone a life estate? Why is that difficult? What happens after life estate? Happens after she dies. Goes to who? Transfer is dead. Jesse's dead. Who does it go to? Well, it's got to go somewhere. Who's it going to in this question? Got to go somewhere. Because Jesse said who's going to get it? Well, why Evelyn? What's her relation to Jesse? Who gets property when someone dies? It's got to go somewhere. Jesse died, right? He went to Evelyn for life estate. Evelyn's dead. Where does property go back to? Of? You think it goes to the transferor. Transferor is dead. Who gets it now? Of? No. Does Jesse have any children? What does she have? Who are the relatives of Jesse that exist? How is Sandra related to Jesse? It's her niece. What's a niece? How would you describe a niece through inheritance law? What's that called? Collateral. So let's try this again. After the life estate, where would the property go? To Jesse's, which is a type of
collateral, okay, thank you. So after the death, after life estate, it goes to collateral. But Nikki, why is that so complicated? What's the problem with it going to collateral? Why is it important? I don't want to deal with that. There's many. How many nieces and nephews are there? A lot. Do you know where they are? So what does the court prefer? Instead of trying to figure out who all the various nieces and nephews are, what does the court want to do instead? Sell and get it over with. Very good, thank you. All right? The court says we're going to sell it and move on. The court does not want to figure out who the collateral are, because that's complicated, it's messy. Easier to just sell the damn thing and move on. That's what the court does here. So look, they say, we favor complete disposition of gifts over partial disposition of gifts. We favor we favor a fee simple over a life estate. Right? We favor a fee simple over a life estate. So for these reasons, the court says we're just going to take our pencil, take our red pencil, cross, 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 scratch it out, and give over a fee simple to Miss Evelyn. Hey, guess what, niece and nephew, you get nothing. Miss Evelyn, you get zero. I'm sorry, Miss Sandra, you get nothing. Niece and nephew, you get nothing. Everything goes to the sister-in-law. And what do? They sell the damn house. The thing that Jesse did not want to happen. So that's disrespectful. She makes her intent loud and clear, and they do the exact thing. So I love this case, and they're taking out the book. I'm so sad. It's the last time ever teaching it. This is it. Never again. Armin.
Isn't that more against public policy?
Yes!
Change
They're
it?
ignoring her intent, 100%. They're saying, we don't care what you want, and you're dead. You can't change us. She's going to haunt the Supreme Court. What she's going to do. Yeah. Anyway, so that's the case, right? And the reason why they're taking out the book is it doesn't really teach a lesson. I think it's a good case, right? It's kind of a weird situation. I like it. All right. Any other questions on White versus Brown? Such a good case. I'll miss this one. Some cases I don't miss. I'm happy to take them out. This one I'm going to miss. All right. Baker versus Whedon. Tony, facts, please. John Whedon, he married initially this lady called Ellen, I think. Lady, okay, yeah. Okay. Yeah, Ella. Ella, okay. And they had 3 kids. And then something ended. He married a 17-year-old girl.
You skipped a few steps. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, basically, he had the land in North Carolina for agricultural
Sure.
purposes.
I think Mississippi.
Which sounds about right for what he did.
What did he do?
I mean,
Well, actually, the North Carolina case was Newman versus Boss, where he married his housekeeper, or he said he would.
keep it all in family.
But they're not related. What's wrong with a 55-year-old person marrying a 17-year-old? I mean, that's not illegal. They're not. No, the age of consent is no. The age of consent's over 70 in some states.
I'll remember that when I'm 55.
All right, enough. Okay, fine. All right, so you have a guy. You guys are awful. By all accounts, this was a good marriage, right? You guys are terrible. So John has 3 daughters, right? 2 daughters. He doesn't like them, but he has 3 grandkids who he has basically no contact with, but he seems to like them. Then John marries a woman who's much younger than him. He's 55, she's 17. Tony thinks it's gross. They have a compatible relationship. They were together for a long time, almost 2 decades. I mean, that's longer than most marriages last, people who are of the same age. I mean, they seem, but no kids. Then he writes his will. Rieger, I'm sorry. Ragnar, right? Rieger, what's going on? What's in the will? What are the terms in the will?
Oh, the terms of the will is that he wants to leave the land to his first wife and her family and provide a monetary.
Whoa, guys, also one step at a time, right? Okay. At the time you wrote the will, did the wife have any kids?
The second wife?
Anna, the current wife.
No, she did not.
Okay, and how old was she at that point?
Like in her late 30s?
Yeah, she was in her late 30s. So maybe the husband thought maybe she'll have kids with him or someone else. So first off, Tony Rieger, what happens if Anna has kids? What happens to the property?
Okay, so if she has kids, that means the property would go to his issue and go to the kids, however.
Well, they're not necessarily his kids. It could be from any marriage.
Well, I thought
If Anna has children,
I'm sorry, okay, just with
Okay.
anyone.
So if Anna has children with anyone, him with anyone else, what happens after Anna's death?
So the property is going to go to his issue.
No, but they may not be his issue.
Well, but he already has previous kids.
No, I think you're mistaken. No. Natalie, what happens if Anna dies with kids? Her kids. Her kids, not his kids, right? In what circumstance would the property go to John's kids in the prior marriage?
Had he not divorced?
No, I think somebody's off, okay. So he set the situation. If Anna has children, either with him or with someone else, the property goes to Anna's children, whoever those children happen to be. But if Anna has no children, that dies childless, it goes to his grandkids from the prior marriage, the three of them. Right? Anna has just a life estate on her own. She cannot control what happens after she dies, or can she? Krista, does Anna have some control over what happens? This is nice, actually. Does Anna have some control over what happens after her death?
No.
She kind of does, actually. What can she do? What can she do
Or
to?
she makes a will and she.
Nope, that won't do it. What can Anna do to control what happens after death? One specific act.
What's something she could do?
She can do
Oh,
one
she could
thing.
have kids.
She can have kids.
Yeah.
If she has kids, they go to her kids. So the husband gave her that power, but that's it. The only thing her husband gave her was the ability to have kids, and then the property goes to her kids. But not everyone can have kids for whatever reason. She was childless. She got remarried and never had kids. Right?
So in his will, basically, he made it a life estate, but on the condition it can change into fee simple.
Ugh, you're making me do this, aren't you? Fine. So something like this. If you want a preview of next week, this. You asked for it. So there are different types of remainders, right? There are different types of remainders. Anna may have kids. She may not have kids. We know for sure the three kids from the prior marriage exist. But Anna may have kids, may not have kids. This is a case where there's a present life estate followed by two different remainders. Because after Anna's death, it's either going to her children, so remainder after death goes to a third party, or it goes to the grandchildren. After death goes to a third party. You have two remainders back to back in this case, but only one of them is going to get it. Trey, we'll get there next week, I promise. Caitlin?
So if Anna would have formally adopted a child,
I don't know if in Mississippi at the time adopted kids were treated as children. This was in the early 20th century. I don't know the answer. She didn't, but I'm not sure. Today, yes, you can get around it that way. Yeah, Gabriel?
I'm sorry, I was stretching.
That's okay. All right, so what happens here, right? You're stretching again. All right, Mike, so let's walk through this, right? The husband writes this will. Did he really love his wife? I'm sorry? John, did John really love his wife? How did he show that love? What did he give her? In what interest? Do you love someone given life estate?
Yeah.
You can, okay. All right. Oh, you have no name tag. Okay. Hey, John, did John really trust his wife and love her very much?
I think so.
Well, if you really loved her, what would you have given her?
Be simple.
Give her a fee simple, right? give her nothing. So actually, you couldn't give her nothing. That's right. You can't write your wife a will. She would have gotten something. So give her something actually a little bit worse than nothing, right? He gave her a life estate. What's the consequence then, Angelica, of having a life estate? What in this case? What was the consequence of this?
She had no say on
Could she sell the property to anyone else? Why was she not able to sell it?
because there was remainders.
Would anyone buy a life estate from her?
No, because then it would, if she died, then it would revert to us.
He gave her a worthless piece of property. She cannot sell it. She cannot take a loan on it. She cannot make improvements on it. It's worthless. All it can generate is $1,000 a year for rental income for the farm. By giving her a life estate, he basically chained her to the land. She can't do anything. It's only livelihood, etc. Now, maybe the husband was hoping she would just have kids, right? But it never happened. She lived for decades and decades and decades without kids. Sarah, help us out. What happened then after all? Because Miss Anna was starting to get a little bit older in age and she couldn't work the farm anymore. So what did she do?
She tried to sell it.
Did that work? No, it didn't work. So what did she do instead?
She sued
She sued who?
the grandkids.
She sued the 3 grandkids. And what did she want the court to do?
She wanted the grandkids to give up their future interest.
Did the this is a hard question actually. Could the grandkids have given her their interest?
No,
Why not?
because they don't have a full future interest because of her unborn kids.
Oh, that's such a perfect answer. Say that. You give me 100%. Say it again.
They don't have a full future interest because of the unborn kids.
So let's say the grandkids gave Anna everything they have. Would she have the full bundle yet?
No,
Because
because of the unborn kids.
the unborn kids. When you have these 2 remainders, the grandkids could not make her whole. Right? The grandkids could not give Anna the full bundle for the reasons Sarah said. There's still the other unborn children. So long as Anna remains capable of reproducing children, there might be other people around. And she would never have to be simple. Right? The husband, part of it, he was a bit of an asshole. Right? By doing this, he created the most convoluted property conveyance. And you say, well, wait, she's in her 70s. We presume in the law that everyone is capable of reproduction at any age. The fertile octogenarian. We presume no matter what age you are, you can reproduce, no matter how old you are or how young you are. So long as Anna was capable of popping out a kid, there was a potential remainderment floating around. We know where this person is, who they are, it doesn't matter. So for that reason, Sarah is 100% correct. The grandkids could not make her whole because someone else could come along. Let's say that Anna has a kid. That kid now owns it in fee simple after her death. And then someone bought it from Anna. Well, let's say she adopts. This is Caitlin's question. That would be creating a potential new heir. Someone there, Trey, and then Armin.
So I hate to make this complicated, but what if you had like hysterectomy for?
Oh, come on. Adoption. Next.
I was just wondering why those laws, it doesn't put a cap on like when you can have children, even though biologically and scientifically.
So there's a couple answers I can give you. One, when these laws were created, people didn't live very long. Right? They lived till the 30s or 40s, so you weren't literally a reproductive age till you died. But the second is property conveyances are very complex. And we don't want to create an artificial cutoff saying, oh, when you're 75, you can't have kids. People today have kids in their 70s. It's rare, but it happens. So you don't want to create an artificial cutoff. Yeah, someone there. All right. So here, once again, the husband did the wife poorly, right? He did not do her well. This was very bad what he did. She could not sell the property. And because she seemed not to have any children her entire life, she was unable to basically leave her own heirs. She cannot choose her heirs. She cannot have her own family members or an issue inherit. So what does the court do? Okay, what does the court do here? What do they always do? They sell the damn thing, right? The thing he didn't want, right? The husband wanted this to stay in his family, either his grandchildren or his wife's kids. Order a sale. Why did they order a sale?
Because it was causing so much trouble. Like the grandkids had already kind of sold parts of it anyway, and they all agreed that this was what was best, and they were like, "Please just let us do this."
Now, okay, one more question. What about the remaindermen, the unborn children of Anna? What's their say? They're screwed. They're cut out.
Exist, so they don't have a say.
Well, even if they don't exist until the remainder. This is crazy. Even if you're not even conceived yet, there's still a remainder floating around for you. We'll do that next week. But the remainder that would have existed for the children of Adam is just cut off. The court destroyed it. The court destroyed that remainder. They saying, this is too hard. We don't want to deal with this nonsense. Go away, you family. This is too complicated. Sell the damn thing and divide the money.
And that's what courts always do, right? The courts always say, wow, this is hard, let's just sell it, right? That's probably not going to be your answer in your exam. You're going to have to actually work this through, right? The correct answer, I think what Sarah said a minute ago, John gave Anna life estate. Anna's children have a remainder. And there's another remainder for John's grandchildren. There's two remainders stacked back to back. And next week, I'll explain to you how that actually works. But there's two remainders. You want to read the lesson plan? I walked through the lesson, the case summary. I walked through it. So there are two types of remainders here. Clark.
I know he says, I think it's like partially a joke with talking about, not always, but how like these people that are leaving stuff to their wives or heirs or whoever are assholes, a-holes because they like, whatever, they're screwing them up. I mean, do they all like mean to do that? This seems like, I don't know, this doesn't seem like a.
I don't know, Mike says leave her nothing, right? You can leave her zero. I think that's, he made me laugh. That's a fair point.
These guys aren't all just, they're all martyrs and stuff too,
Well, look, so, I mean, let's just be honest here. I think what the husband, John, was doing, he says, I don't want this to be sold. I want to stay in my family. So if Anna has kids, great, it goes to her kids. If not, it goes to my grandkids, but I want to stay in my family. That was his intent here, right? What he didn't realize, though, was that if you have a life estate, you can't do anything. You just wait for the person to die. You can't get a loan, you can't get a mortgage or nothing. So he didn't appreciate the consequences of what he's doing. But I mean this sincerely, maybe contrary to Mike. If he really loved her and he wanted to have this land for her benefit, he should recognize that her benefit might be selling it, right? It may not have been in her benefit to keep it forever. So he was more interested in this land staying in his family than actually benefiting his wife, I think. So, Bree, was your hand up?
Oh, yeah, it's okay, I just had a commentary on our question.
Say it.
Oh, when I read this, I was thinking, does he know that she can have kids? Like, was he just holding this over her head? It felt very unloving to me as well.
I've thought about that because, look, I mean, she was 17. That's usually a fairly, that's reproductive age.
But she likely should have had kids while they were together at 17. So
I think so. The opinion says they had a compatible relationship, which suggests they were intimate, right? That's how I read that line. So maybe she just wasn't capable of having children for whatever reason. And maybe that's not a loving thing to say, hey, when you finally get around to popping out a baby, then you get the property.
Yeah, I was kind of like, I won't leave you high and dry since you were my wife.
And you didn't give me any heirs. Right, you didn't give me any actual children, so work on that. But think about it. He wrote the will before he died. He was hoping she would give him kids during his life, right? I don't think he anticipated kids with another guy. I think it was kids with him. Mike, help us.
Well, I was just wondering because of the fact that he was married 2 times before.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to give anything to his previous wives or offspring.
Right.
So, like, the only way I look at it is if he just didn't click, he didn't understand what he was doing entirely.
Maybe he didn't. It's possible. Tony?
But what if he did know? Because you think about, not to get into details, but fertility, he could have been like, oh, so, like, I'm going to marry a young woman so that maybe I have time to have kids.
More kids. Yeah. You wanted more kids, and that was the incentive. That's kind of maybe Bree's point. Fair. Yeah, again, if he really loved her and he wanted it for her well-being, he wouldn't have written this conveyance. He would have written something else. I give it to you in fee simple. I love you, sweetheart. It's true. All right, questions? All right, let me wrap up. We're just about out of time. So in the end, the court simply says we're going to sell it, right? What about the fact that, the property is in good condition? Didn't matter, right? So they basically sold it. She kept her house. And that was it. And as it turns out, though, she outlived a couple of the grandkids. Isn't that crazy? She outlived a couple of the grandkids. So she lived to, 98 years old. So still no children, though. She did not have kids at 98. All right, any questions on Baker? All right, so let me just summarize a bit. I'll turn the exit polling on. You're thinking about what questions asked. So far, we've only discussed 2 types of present interest, right? You have the fee simple and the life estate. We've done the reversion. Next week, we focus a lot more on the remainder, right? The remainder.
And what you'll see next week, right, are conveyances like this, where you have multiple future interests, one after the other, where only one of them is going to happen, the other one won't. It can't both happen. And your life will become more difficult. All right, anything else? All right, that's all I have. I'll be in my office if you want to come chat. Otherwise, I will see you all on Tuesday. Have a nice weekend. Yes.
Is there a good time for me to swing by your office and get an answer check